morning, welcome to the stream. I'm your host, Stephen 2, a man of 1,000 hats. Not quite 1,000, maybe a half dozen. Need honey. Today I'm going to try to wrap the Pied Piper Pamlin. I haven't really practiced this. I don't know if I could rap, but you don't know until you try, right? Get the bagels going here. Honey in the water. Essential first step. So I've added the honey to the water. I'm going to wipe my boards, get them nice and saturated with water. Nice even regular strokes of the board. It's key to proper technique. Even and regular strokes of the boards. Even and regular. There we go. Okay, I'm going to add the bagels to the hot, boiling hot water. Hot was an adjective that was unnecessary in that sentence. There it goes. Hamlin, Towns, Brunswick, my famous Hanover city. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wall. I don't know if that's really a rap. Need a beat. Hamlin, Towns, Brunswick, my famous Hanover city. The river Weser, deep and wide, washes its wall and southern side. A pleasanter spot you never spied, but when begins by a pity. Almost 500 years ago, to see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin was pity. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats, bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheeses from the vats and licked the soup from the cooks from the ladles. Split open the cakes of salt, sprats, mayonnaise, and the men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning out their speaking with shrieking, speaking in 50 different sharps and flats. Alas, people in a body to the town all came flocking. 'Tis clear-cut, they, our mayors are naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking. Think we buy gowns lined with ermine, for those who can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're old and obese, finding the furry civic robes ease. Browse up, sirs, give your brains a racking, find the remedy we are lacking, or sure as fate will send you packing. At this American corporation quaked with mighty consternation. Now they sat in council, I like the mayor broke silence. Poor Gilder, I admire me downtown. I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brain. I'm sure my forehead aches again. I scratch it so, but all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap. Just as you said, this what should happen. At the chamber door, but a gentle tap. Bless us, cried the mayor. What's that? Ah! Nobody's watching anyways. I felt like I was scratching a turntable. Can't make that sound, what is it? Not very good at sound effects. Something I can practice perhaps. Start over again. Hamlin Towns, Brunswick, my famous hat of a city. The river in western, deep and wide, washes its walls and south inside. A pleasanter spot you never spied, but one begins by pity. Almost 500 years ago, to see the townsfolk suffer so from vermin wasn't pity. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats, bit the babies in the cradles, and ate the cheese from the vats and licked the soup from the cooking on ladles. Split open the cakes of salt and sprats and mayonnaise and then Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning out their speaking and shrieking and speaking in 50 different sharp flats. Alas, people in a body to the town hall came flocking. 'Tis clear-cut day, our mayors are naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking. To think we buy gowns lined with ermine, for those who can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're old and obese to find in furry civic robes ease. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking, find the remedy we are lacking, or sure as fate we'll send you packing. At this American corporation quaked with mighty consternation. An hour they sat in council, at length the mayor broke silence. For a gilder eyed my ermine gazelle, I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one rack one's brain. I'm sure my forehead aches again. I scratch it so, but all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap. Just as he said this, what should have? At the chamber door, but a gentle tap. Bless us, cried the mayor. What's that? With the corporation as he sat, looking little to wonder his fat. Nor brighter were his eyes with an oyster than too long with an oyster. Save what I knew this conjugal weakness, or say eternal greedy looseness. Only a scraping of shoes on a mat. Anything like the sound of a rattling to my heart will in a path. Come in, cried the mayor, looking bigger. And then did come the strangest figure. His long queer coat from the other head was half yellow and half red. And he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like pin. Light loose hair and swarthy skin, nor tuft of hair on cheek, nor beard on chin. Lips were smiling on and in, there was no guessing his trick or kin. And nobody could enough admire this tall man in his quaint attire. Quoth one, it's as my great grandsire, starting up at the trumpet of stone, had walked this way from his painted tombstone. We advance towards the council table. Please join us in. Oh, hey, viewer. I'm trying to rap a Victorian poem by Robert Browning, but I'm not really good at rapping, so I think I'm just reciting the poem. It's not really a rap. I think I need a beat. Some kind of beat, right? Morning. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for watching. I'm baking bagels. This is my first batch. There it comes. There it comes. And now I'm putting sesame seeds on the bagels, the wet bagels. And the sesame seeds stick to the bagels because well, I added honey, and so one reason. I'm sure there's a scientific reason. I'm not the one explain it to you though. I'm not a scientist, I'm a baker. Sorry, I missed your comment. My screen is too far away from me. I can read it when I'm about at this distance from it. These are everything bagel. Well, I'm putting everything mix on wet plain bagels. Wet cooked plain bagels. And to the oven I go. And they're going to sit like that for 5 minutes. There's my sponge. I'll show you some of the tools that I use. This is my scraper. I scrape my table and I scrape my boards with it. So a sponge. This is an essential piece of equipment. Bowls, stainless steel bowls. These are mahogany boards. Mahogany. It's nice hardwood. Durable, it lasts for a while in the flame. Each board lasts about 1 or 2 months, depending on conditions. The quality of the wood. This is my Shiva. It's a long tool, long instrument of bagel manipulation. This is a basket. These are crates that I used to contain the bagels. So I'm going to add my second batch now. Nobody's watching me bake. Nobody. It's a rainy day here in North Vancouver on Lonsdale on 17th. Maybe when I take my gloves off, I'll turn the screen around so you can take a look out the window. See the rain. Hamlet, Towns of Brunswick, my famous Hanover City The river, western, deep and wide, washes its wall on the southern side. Pleasanter spot you never spied, but when begins my ditty, almost 500 years ago. See the townsfolk suffer so, for merman was a pity. Rats, they fought the dogs and killed the cats and bit the babies in the cradles, and ate cheeses from the vats and licked the soup from the cooks' old ladles. Split open the canes of salted sprats, made nests in the men's Sunday hats, and even spoiled the women's chats by drowning out their speaking, shrieking and squeaking in 50 different sharps and flats. At last, the people in a body to the town hall came flocking. 'Tis clear, cried they, our mayor is a naughty, and as for our corporation, shocking. To think we buy gallons lined with ermine, for those who can't or won't determine what's best to rid us of our vermin. You hope because you're old and obese, find in furry civic robes ease. Rouse up, sirs, give your brains a racking, find the remedy we are lacking, or sure as fate will send you packing. At this, the mayor and corporation quake with mighty consternation. An hour they sat in council, at length in the world silence. For a builder, I my ermine gown sell, I wish I were a mile hence. It's easy to bid one of Macklin's brain, I'm sure my poor head aches again. I scratch it so, but all in vain. Oh, for a trap, a trap, a trap. Just as he said this, what should happen? At the door came a gentle tap. What's that, customer? What's that? With the corporation, as he sat, looking little through wonder as fat. Nor brighter were his eyes, nor moister than too long opened oyster, save when at noon his paunch grew muteness, for a plate of turtle green and goofness. Only a scraping his shoes on a mat. Anything like the sound of a rat makes my heart will hit a pat. Come in, cried the mayor, looking bigger, and in did come the strangest figure. His long clear coat from knee to head was half yellow and half red, and he himself was tall and thin, with sharp blue eyes, each like a pin, and light loose hair and swarthy skin, nor puff of hair on cheek, nor beard on chin. The lips were smile went out and in. There was no guessing his kith or kin, and nobody could enough admire this tall man in his quaint attire. Quoth one, it's as my great grandsire, starting up at the trump of these tones, had walked this way from his painted tombstone. He advanced towards the council table, and please your honor, said he, I am able, by means of secret charm to draw, all the creatures living in these the sun, the crawler, swimmer, fly, or run, after me so as you never saw. And I chiefly use my charm on creatures that do people harm, the mole and toad and newt and viper, and people call me the Pied Piper. And here they notice round his neck a scarf of red and yellow stripe, to match with his coat itself, saying check. And that scarf then hung a pipe, and his fingers they noticed were ever straying, as if impatient to be playing upon his pipe, as low it dangled over his vesture so old-fangled. Yes, said he, Pied Piper as I am, in Tartary I fred the can, last June from his huge swarms of gnats. I eased in Asia the Nizam, of a monstrous brood of vampire bats. And as for what your brain bewilders, if I rid your town of rats, will you give me 1,000 guilders? 50,000 was the exclamation of an astonished mayor and corporation. Into the street the piper stepped, smiling first a little smile, as if he knew what magic slept in his quiet pipe the while. Like a musical adept to blow his pipe, his lips he wrinkled, and green and blue his sharp eyes twinkled, like a candle flame where salt is sprinkled. And ere 3 shrill notes the pipe uttered, you heard as if an army muttered. The muttering grew to a grumbling, and a grumbling grew to a mighty rumbling. And out of the houses came the rats tumbling, great rats, small rats, lean rats, brawny rats, brown rats, black rats, gray rats, tawny rats, big old potters, gay young friskers, fathers, mothers, uncles, cousins, cocking tails and pricking whiskers, families by tens and dozens, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, followed the Pied Piper for their lives. From street to street he piped advancing, and step for step they followed dancing, until they came to the river Weser, wherein all plunged and perished, save one who stout as Julius Caesar, swam across and lived to carry, as he the manuscript he cherished, to Ratland home his commentary, which was, at first shrill notes of the pipe, I heard it sound as of scraping tripe, and putting apples under his ripe, into the side of presses gripe, and it seemed as if a voice sweeter far than by harp or by psaltery is breathed, called out, O rats, rejoice, the world has grown to a vast dry saltery, so munch on, crunch on, take your nunch on, breakfast, supper, dinner, lunch on, and just as a bulky shicker punch on, already staved like a great sun shone, gracious scarce an inch before me, just as methought it said come bore me, I found the Weser rolling over me. You should have heard the Hamlin people ring the bells till they rock the steeple. Go, cried the mayor, get long poles, poke out the nest and blow up the hole. Consult with carpenters and builders, and leave in our town not even a trace of the rats, when suddenly up the face of the piper perked in the marketplace. The first, if you please, my 1,000 guilders. 1,000 guilders, the mayor was pleased So did the corporation too, for council dinners made rare havoc with Claret, Moselle, Vin de Gras, Pop. And half the money would replenish the seller's biggest butt of Rhenish to pay this sum to a wondering fellow with gypsy coat of red and yellow. Besides, quoth Marathon the wing wing, our business was done at the river's brink. We saw with our eyes the vermin sink, and what's dead can't come to life, I think. So friend, we're not going to shrink from our duty of giving you something to drink, and a matter of money to put in your post. But as for the guilders, what we spoke of them, as you well know, wasn't just. Besides, their losses have made us thrifty. 1,000 guilders, come take 50. The piper's face fell and he cried, no trifling, I can't wait aside. I promised to visit if I didn't hunt Baghdad, except the crime the head cook's potage. All he's rich in, for having left in the Calip's kitchen of a nest of scorpions, no survivor. With him I proved no bargain driver. With you don't think I'll bake a stiver. The folks who put me in a passion may find me pipe after another fashion. How, cried the mayor, do you think I broke? Being worse treated than a cook, insulted by a rival, with idle pipe and vesture piebald. Threaten us, fellow, do your worst, blow your pipe there till you burst. Once more he stepped to the street, and to his lips again laid his long pipe with smooth straight cane. And there he blew 3 notes, such sweet soft notes as if musicians never gave me enraptured air. There was a rustling that seemed like a bustling of merry crowds jostling and pitching and hustling, small feet were pattering, wooden shoes clattering, little hands clapping, and little tongues chattering, and like foals in a farmyard when barley is scattering, out came the children running, all the little boys and girls, rosy cheeks and flaxen curls, and sparkling eyes and teeth like pearls, tripping and skipping ran merrily after, the wonderful music was shouting and laughter. The mayor was dumb and the council stood, as if they were changed into blocks of wood, unable to move a step or cry, to the children merrily skipping by, could only follow with an eye that joyous crowd at the piper's back, and how the mayor was on the rack, and the wretched council's bosoms beat, as the piper turned from the high street, to where the western rolled its waters, right in the way of their sons and daughters. However, he turned from south to west, into Copperberg Hill his steps addressed, and after him the children pressed, great was the joy in every breast. He never can cross the mighty top, his force let the piping drop, and we shall see our children stop, when lo, they reach the mountainside, a wondrous portal opened wide, as if a cavern was suddenly hollowed, the piper advanced and the children followed, and when all were in to the very last, the door in the mountainside shut fast. Did I say, oh, no one was lame, and could not dance the whole of the way, and in after years, if you would blame the sadness, he was used to say, it is dull in our countenance, my playmates left, I can't forget that I am bereft of all the pleasant sights we see, which the piper also promised me, before he led us, he said, to a joyous land, joining the town is just at hand, where waters gushed and fruit trees grew, the flowers before the fair view, and everything was strange and new. The sparrow and riders of peacock here, and their dogs around our fellow deer, and honeybees have lost their stings, and horses were born with eagle's wings, and just as I became assured, my lame foot was speedily cured. The music stopped and I stood still, and found myself outside the hill, left behind against my will, to go now living as before, and never hear of that country more. Alas, alas, for Hamlin, there came to many a burdened state. A text which said that heaven's gave hopes to the rich at as easy rate, as the needle's eye takes a camel in. The mayor sent east, west, north, and south, to offer the piper by word of mouth, wherever was men's lot to find him. Silver and gold to his heart's content, if only he'd return the way he went, and bring the children behind him. But when he saw it was lost endeavor, and piper and dancers were gone forever, they made a decree that lawyers never should think their records dated duly, if after the day of the month and year, these words could not as well appear. And so long after what happened here on the 22nd of July, on 1376, in the better memory be fixed, the place of the children's last retreat, they called it the Pied Piper Street, where anyone playing pipe or tabor was sure for his future lose his labor, nor suffered they hostelry or tavern, to shock with mirth the streets so solemn. And opposite the place of the cavern, they wrote the story on a column, and on great church window painted, the same to make the world acquainted how their children were stolen away, and there it stands this very day. And I must not omit to say that in Transylvania there's a tribe of alien people who ascribe the way and dress of which their neighbors lay such stress to their fathers and mothers having risen out of some subterranean prison into which they were Japan a long time ago in a mighty band out of Hamlin towns in Brunswick land, but how or why they don't understand. I'm gonna stop this. Thanks. Have a good day.